What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Love of a King banner, which is a Valentine banner featuring Henriette, Duo Lif, Alfonse and Gustav in their Valentine outfit. This is going to be a comprehensive analysis on these units. I'll be also going over the builds that you could run on them, and also how you could utilize their fodder, for example Henriette's save skills or the fatal smoke that Duo Lif comes with. So I'll be going over all of those topics, and as always, if you guys do enjoy these banner reviews, then I would really appreciate if you could hit that like and subscribe button for 20 damage just like Duo Lif's weapon. So hope you all do enjoy, and with that said, let us begin.
But Veronica, remember this, we are not alone.
Alfonse.
Duo Lif, in my opinion, is right now the best Red Mage Cavalier present in the game. I mean, there wasn't really much competition to begin with. The only competition I would say is Mage Erica, but Mage Erica cannot really hit as hard as Duo Lif, doesn't really have a preferred weapon like him, and isn't really that bulky. So Duo Lif comes with Thialfi as his preferred weapon that gives him +3 speed, and if he's within 3 spaces of an ally, he gets +6 to all of his stats, and he can also make a guaranteed follow-up attack. And he also has an additional effect where he could have the damage reduction skills of the opponent. So if you're facing an opponent with a 40% damage reduction skill like Close Call or Repel, against Duo Lif, they're only going to be able to get 20% damage reduction, because with his weapon he can have the damage reduction that they can get. So this can be really useful against many kind of damage reduction units, and damage reduction skills are pretty common, so this allows Lif to, in a way, combat against them and just have their effectiveness, so that is really great. And if he attacked, then after combat he can deal 20 damage to the nearest ally. It's kinda similar to Lif's original weapon, but that 20 damage can be annoying for many people. But the way you play with Duo Lif, or Lif in general, is basically build a team around him that can utilize the recall damage that he does to his teammates. For example, use units with Escape Route, Vantage, Desperation, Brazen skills, stuff like that. So you gotta build a team around Duo Lif in general and use teammates that can go well with his recall damage. This preferred weapon is really good. Providing him with +6 to all of his stats is really insane. So I guess this is the next step in power creep. Before, units used to get +4 to all of his stats, then they used to get +5, and now apparently Duo Lif gets +6 to all of his stats. The auto follow-up is really good because Duo Lif is pretty slow unit, and auto follow-up just allows him to hit really hard with his already high attack stat, which is really amazing. His base kit is also really good with attack defense push 4, lull attack resistance, and fatal smoke. Fatal smoke is a new skill that we have, and aside from healers, basically any kind of unit can inherit fatal smoke. So basically this skill is going to be stopping any kind of healing skills or healing tower or any kind of passive recovery skill. So basically folk cannot recover HP during or after the combat when they're going to be up against Duo Lif. And after the combat, he can inflict deep wound status on the target and foes within 2 spaces. And deep wounds is basically going to be a status that prevents them from healing up or getting healed by a healer or by healing tower or anything like that. So it's just gonna be a heal block right there, and that can be really detrimental for many kinds of opponents that rely on their healing. So this could be pretty annoying to face honestly, and this could also be good in your hands. His duo skill is basically a damaging skill, and it does have good synergy with his weapon. So he can deal damage to foes within 3 spaces by adding 10 to the 50% of the total damage dealt to the HP of the allies within 3 spaces. And this does have pretty good synergy because he can basically damage his own allies with his weapon. And when you try to use this duo skill, that damage that he did to his allies is going to be coming into the play. And he can also inflict -7 attack and speed debuff on foes within 3 spaces of unit throughout their next action. So the debuff can be really good for him for the tankiness, and can also help his allies. So overall this can be a really good duo skill for just damaging many foes at the same time, and the max damage that he could do to them is 40. Duo Lif, because of his duo effect, can also score 190 BST in Arena, so expect to see a lot of Duo Lifs in Arena and Arena Assault, and he can be definitely a pretty annoying unit to face because of fatal smoke and his auto follow-up attack. Just like his timelines, Duo Lif is also cursed with 3 super banes, so HP, speed, and defense is going to be annoying, especially defense and HP, and he does have a super boon in attack, which is extremely good because he already has a very high attack stat. Now fatal smoke is a pretty good skill, and I think we might be seeing it here and there. It can both be used in your hands and also in the hands of the AI, so if you're using someone like Kronia, then fatal smoke can be used in Slotsy. And you could pair this up with a double Savage Blow Layla, or do a Hector or a Bolt Tower, max level Bolt Tower basically. And you can not even bother sniping the healing towers of the opponent and simply just go there with the Fatal Smoke. Now keep in mind, Odd Recovery, Kia Staff are going to be getting rid of this status, so that is going to be annoying. It does come at an opportunity cost of not being able to run Savage Blow on her slot C, but it can be worth it if you do use Chronia a lot. And a pretty interesting interaction is that healers that are present on the opponent's team, even if their allies have been inflicted by the Deep Wounds effect, they're still going to be attempting to heal up their allies even though they cannot really heal them up. So that way you can basically avoid any kind of combat against those healers. So the healers are going to be focusing on healing if they cannot get a kill on Chronia, and most healers cannot really get a kill on Chronia when she's at full HP. So Fatal Smoke can be an option on Chronia in your hands. You can also put this in the hands of the AI in Aetherite's defense by having it on someone like Kempf or Rajat. Both of these have a weapon that can inflict the flash status on the opponent as well, and also some passive damage. So Kempf can basically use Wind Sweep to safely apply the Fatal Smoke effect, and he can actually get pretty bulky at max investment. Same goes for Rajat, but of course Rajat is much more harder to plus 10 merge, but still she can use an impact skill and just safely apply the Fatal Smoke effect. Now it's worth noting that just like Panic Smoke, if you kill the opponent who has got Fatal Smoke in that same round of combat, you're not going to be getting affected by the Deep Wounds effect, and neither are going to be your allies within 2 spaces. Of course, in that specific combat against that Fatal Smoke opponent, you're not going to be able to heal up any HP, but you're not going to be affected by the Deep Wounds effect. So it's really important to safely apply the Deep Wounds effect, especially if it's in the AI's hands, and that's why we've got Kempf and Rajat. And if you're going to be facing against an opponent who has got Fatal Smoke, then try to take them out in a single round of combat so that they do not get the Deep Wounds effect on you or your allies. As for the builds of Duo Lif, it's pretty straightforward. He already comes with a pretty good base kit. You could just slap something like Attack, Defense, Solo and just have a positional skill. You could also run Desperation and Slot B because he does have that auto follow-up effect. So if you want to use him for like chain challenges or some other maps where you have to fight more and more battles, then Desperation can be worked out. You can also use Heavy Blade along with Glimmer because he can reach a pretty decent amount of attack, and especially if you run something like Attack Smoke. You can also run Heavy Blade along with Bonfire, so basically against an opponent who can retaliate back, he can just trigger Bonfire in a single round of combat if he triggers his Heavy Blade. If you don't really like the self-recall damage of the push skill, then you could also run a solo skill on his slot A. He just needs to be within 3 spaces of an ally, but still you could easily trigger the solo skill and get use out of it. In Aetherite's defense, Duo Lif I think is going to be an extremely good unit because the fact that his preferred weapon can have the damage reduction skills and that he gets a free auto follow-up is going to be really good. But of course the 20 damage that he does can definitely be pretty annoying to face, but you can still use that productively by setting up maybe stuff like Escape Route or something like that. Duo Lif can also enable the usage of Duo Hindrance structure, and nowadays in Vault of Heaven it's basically a mandatory structure because we have such insane duo units like Duo Micaiah, we have also Ninja Lin who is also really absurd, and also Winter Eltina. So Duo Hindrance is a very important structure, and if you get Duo Lif, you could use him to enable that, and he himself can be a really good unit to use. Basically, you want to stack up his defense because most of the units that are going to be attacking your defense are going to be physical units. So stacking up his defense is really good with Attack, Defense, Solo. Already comes with a push skill, and you could basically try to use him with a Rally Trap so that you can make sure that he's within 3 spaces of an ally instead of just blazing off alone and not being near any kind of ally and not getting his weapons effect. You could also invest a bit more with an ARD defense rest skill that can make him extremely bulky and super annoying for anyone to face, and you could also run Quick and Pulse to have a 2-turn bonfire for a better damage output. And finally, if you invest heavily into him, you could also run Close Foil on him. He does have pretty good defense for that, and every point of merge and Dragon Flower does help with a fully defensive build like this, so this could be done at high investment.
Oh, I'm so glad to see that all of you are doing well. I've been so worried.
Valentine Henriette is a Red Mage Armor unit, and she's the second Red Mage Armor after Winter Tharja, who came in 2017. She completely outclasses Winter Tharja, of course, because she is a modern unit. She is just as min-maxed, but she has got better BST. She also has some really interesting skills in her base kit as well, and also comes with a better weapon. So she is basically a Gen 5 Winter Tharja, and that is really good because she can just do so many good things, and she's really min-maxed, so that is really amazing. She's got Amity Blooms as her inheritable weapon, and if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she can inflict -5 attack and resistance debuff on the foe during the combat, and if she just hits the opponent, she can heal up 4 HP per attack. So if she doubles, she can heal up 8 HP per combat, which is extremely good. Her base kit is basically geared towards using the AR Far Save skill. These save skills are going to be a new thing which only armor units have access to, and these skills are extremely powerful because these skills can basically let you switch places with an opponent who's getting attacked by a range unit and just take the hit instead of them. And if you have played the paralogue of this banner, then you already know how these skills can be really annoying when you're trying to initiate against these kinds of units. So AR's Far Save is going to be applied to any kind of range opponent. It is going to be triggering the Savior effect, which gives you +4 attack and resistance during the combat. And the Savior effect can basically allow the unit to take the ally space, enter the combat in their position, and receive all of the in-combat effects. And Savior is not going to be triggering if you're going to be having like a flyer on like a mountain, of course, because an armor unit can already access that. And another really good thing about Savior effect is that it completely disables any kind of after combat movements. So you're not going to be getting affected by lunge or like repel, close call, any of those things. And even it can disable stuff like Layla's swap from her, constant dagger, which is going to be pretty insane for many people who do use Layla. I do use Layla, and I'm definitely going to be pretty annoyed whenever I see this skill on my opponent's team. So the save skills are extremely good, and Henriette is just geared with her base kit to function as a ranged tank by using the save skill. I think save skills are going to be pretty insane on some max investment armors. We're going to be seeing this in Arena Assault, in Arena, in Aether Raid's defense, especially in Aether Raid's defense. Someone like Brave Hector at +10 and +10 Edelgard are just going to be denying any kind of range units or hit and run strategy that you might try to do with a range unit, which is going to be really annoying, and you will have to ultimately enemy phase these kinds of units, and it can be really hard because these units are going to be extremely bulky. You could also do it with range units like Valentine Faye or even Winter Felix. It's also worth noting that these save skills actually score 300 SP in Arena and Arena scoring modes, so this is actually an optimal scoring option on many of these armor units. So expect to see this a lot in Arena and Arena Assault because many wields are going to be putting this on their units, and they're not really going to be compromising on their score at all by this skill. So the save skills are really good, and in my opinion, Henriette's save skill is much better than Gustav's because range units are way more annoying, and in a sense these save skills can basically allow you to save any kind of your allies by getting sniped by a unit who just got danced in something like Arena or Arena Assault or even Aether Raid's offense. So in Aether Raid's offense, a lot of oppressive teams can basically try to go turn 1 by using a return or rescue trap. So Henriette can be really useful in just protecting all of your allies from getting sniped by a ranged unit and take hits instead of them. You can also use her for Amity Blooms actually, which is pretty much the best inheritable weapon for red mages. We don't have much options for red mages, but this is really good. For Julius, this is basically better than his Loptus Tome until he gets a weapon refine. Just go with this. Null can also utilize this in Aether Raid's offense. This is in general a really good weapon for tanking, but if you want to use your units in player phase, then the Fox Tome is better. But for tanking, this is going to be a really good weapon. For Henriette, her base kit is just perfect for the role for the AR Far Save that she comes with, and you just have to have something like Swap and maybe have Mystic Boost or a Bond skill or a Stand skill in her Sacred Seal. Now, as I said before, in Aether Raid's offense, I think Henriette or in general AR Far Save is going to be really good, and Henriette is already like really optimized to use the skill. So I have personally tried using Henriette, and she can be really effective in Aether Raid's offense with just her base kit. Even unmerged Henriette can be extremely helpful, and she can basically help your team not get sniped by like ranged units and stuff. So that is going to be extremely good, and she can be a really good unit to be used against a cav line. And even with her base kit, she can do a really fantastic job against many of the cav lines. So just have Fear Stance or like Mystic Boost as her Sacred Seal. You could also run Fortress Defense Res actually to make sure that she can soak Chills and Dark Shrine. The reason being is that she comes with Slick Fighter already, so she doesn't really care too much about the debuffs. But of course, it is not going to be getting you any kind of additional effect like Distant Defense 4. You can also run a tier 4 stance skill in mirror stance. In my opinion, this is the most optimal thing that you could do with Henriette if you want to use her a lot. A tier 4 stance skill is basically going to be allowing you to stop any kind of special charges of the opponents. Many opponents in Ether Raids are going to be running 2-turn cooldown specials. Thracier is going to be there. If you get quad attacked by a max investment Reinhardt who got a Cone Cavalry buff, you can also prevent his special. And she can even take on Reinhardt despite the color disadvantage because she can get insanely bulky on the resistance side. So pretty good option for her. And you could also use her in Ether Raid's defense. This is mainly a very specific build to shut off any kind of initiations by player phase units of your opponent. So she's just going to be able to retaliate back with Iceberg, which is going to be doing so much damage. And she can easily use close counter. Of course, this works best at max investment, but even at lower merges, she is a pretty good user of close counter or close foil in general because of her good defense stat and her min-max bulk. Finally, if you want to go all out against cav lines, you can basically run Keem Rotherwolf, so this can allow you to nullify any kind of boost that they might get with like Hone Cavalry or stuff like that. And Bracing Stance is going to be giving you the guard effect. Slick Fighter is going to be protecting you against any kind of debuffs, which is really good. And Mystic Boost simply disables any kind of Wrathful Staff of the healers. So she can take on someone like Veronica for days and even protect your allies. Even if you don't have too many spaces to save your units from, you can just put her in the middle and have your other units within 2 spaces. And she can even face against some really brutal cav lines and even take out some of the bulkiest cavalry units by the effective damage of the Wolf Tome that she has got. So any of those can be a really good option if you want to face against a lot of ranged units, which are super common, or just cav lines in general.
I am so excited to get presents. Did anybody notice that? Anybody?
Valentine Alfonse is a green mage armor, and he's a 4-star focus unit of this banner, so it's of course easier to plus and merge him. And I think many people are going to be plus and merging him because he's a very popular character in general. So he comes with the same weapon as his mother. Amity Blooms is basically the green version of that. And this is a really good weapon. This is basically like a better melon float that Summer Sylvain came with. Of course, you need to be within 2 spaces of an ally, but that is not a very hard thing to do. Defense Rest Form is, I guess, a decent skill for an armor unit, as you could just have a lot of allies near you and get basically +7 to your defense and resistance. Bullfighter is also not bad. For his stat spread, he's not really as min-maxed as like his father or mother. He does have a bit of wasted speed. He also has a super boon and speed actually, which is not going to be useful most of the time. So the super boon and attack is what you want to go for basically, and he can be a really good bulky mage and an enemy phase tank. And because of the access to the fighter skills, he can have a lot of options. So this stat spread is really good for a 4-star focus unit. And if you plus and merge him, then he's definitely going to be a pretty solid unit overall for an armor unit. Of course, he's going to be having the armor weakness, but still, he's going to be a pretty solid enemy phase option. Now, if you want to fodder him for Amity Blooms, then there are a couple of options here. Units who don't have very good preferred weapons like Soren or Robin can use that. Or if you want to use Leo, who's never had a preferred weapon and probably never will get one, you could use it for an enemy phase Leo. Same goes for Sylvain. So if you have invested into any of these green mages heavily, then the 4-star focus Alfonse is not a bad option to go after, honestly, for giving your mage a really good weapon. As for Valentine Alfonse on his budget build, you could just go with Attack Smoke as a slot C and have Quick Repose so that he could function in both phases. You could also have Armored Boots or Armor March actually as a Sacred Seal, and you could just res refine his weapon. He does have more defense than resistance, so that could be done, but either defensive or the resistance refine is going to be fine. With Deathblow and Bolt Fighter, he can basically function with Armored Boots or Armor March, so that could work on budget. And finally, if you want to invest into him heavily, then Close Counter Vengeful Fighter is a pretty solid enemy phase option in general. He can use a lot of the fighter skills, so you could mix and match basically. By having Bullfighter and Quick Repose, he can be a mixed phase armor unit. By having Special Fighter, he could retaliate back with specials like Glimmer, 2-turn specials, so you could basically trigger this twice in a combat. And he can also run Crafty Fighter, which can just give him the guard effect, which can be pretty good. Finally, he can also use Slick Fighter, and Slick Fighter is in general going to be a really good skill for any kind of armor unit because they do have higher stats, higher defenses, so they are much more susceptible to Dark Shrine, Chill Defense, or Chill Resistance debuffs. So that is going to be pretty sick. You can also give Alfonse the blessing of her mother by foddering her, so you could have the save skill and distant defense 4 and basically run a similar thing which Henriette does. You're not going to be able to get Slick Fighter because you can only inherit 4 skills at the same time. So distant defense 4 and the 3 versions of the save is basically what you could inherit at the same time, and he can function as the same kind of range tank. But of course he's easy to plus and merge. You could also run a Unity skill in slot A and that can function in both phases, so you could have a mixed phase build using that too. And finally, you could also use him in Arena for Arena scoring if you've already plussed and merged him. So he could be utilized with a standard close counter Vengeful Fighter build. But in my opinion, the save build is basically the best version here. Chrom is going to be doing, Legendary Chrom is still going to be doing quite a bit of damage, but because of the color advantage and the fact that Alfonse is a magical unit, he can still do insane amount of damage and take out most of the Legendary Chroms, which are going to be super annoying. The effective damage is of course really going to be the most annoying thing about this, but Distant Defense 4 can help you with that. And Distant Defense 4 in general is going to be pretty good in Arena because most units are going to be running the rally skills and you could just ignore their buffs. He can also be running Aetherite's offense similar to how I suggested running Henriette with a tier 4 stand skill and by having Slick Fighter, and the save skill is going to be pretty amazing for facing many kind of range units and cav lines.
I am astounded that you came to this world and very glad about it too. You are most welcome here.
Finally, we have got Gustav, and he is an Axe Armor unit, and even though that's a very saturated class type, he's still a very strong unit because of his Loyalist Axe. This gives him -1 special cooldown, and if foe initiates combat or if foe is above 75% HP, then he can inflict -6 attack and defense debuff on the foe during the combat, and he can also have the 75 flat damage reduction if the foe can make a follow-up attack. And that is going to be happening a lot because Gustav is a very min-max unit. He has got very low speed, so most units are going to be doubling him, which means that he can get insane amount of damage reduction of 75% on the first hit, which is going to be so useful, and it just opens up many options for his builds as you'll see later on. So this is a very strong weapon in general with the damage reduction, the in-combat debuff, and the -1 special cooldown is cherry on top for using some high cooldown specials. His stat spread is extremely min-max. He's got very high defense at base 46. He has got a good attack stat at 41 and also has workable resistance at 31. His HP is also not bad at 49. Just like his wife, he also has 3 super banes, but the HP and the defense ones are the worst ones of course, and also an attack super boon, so that is going to be helping quite a lot. He also comes with the DR near save, which is basically the melee version of Henriette's far save skill. Of course, like I said, the far save skill is going to be used a lot more, but near save also has its usage in something like Arena or in the ASKR'S season, where you could have a unit with near save on your Aetherite's defense team, and it can definitely help you against Regan, who is a very notorious hit and run unit because of her Canto. So it does have its applications. It's a very solid skill as well. Not saying that this is bad or anything like that, but the far save version is going to be much more useful for most players. Still a very good option on Gustav, and his base kit is just really stellar with having premium fodder with close defense 4 and also crafty fighter, and he can make like fantastic use of these skills himself. So on a budget build, you just want to give him Mystic Boost. He already has damage reduction, he has the in combat debuff, the guard effect, so the only thing that you want to give him is some sustainability in form of healing with Mystic Boost. He's of course the perfect candidate for this encounter because of his high bulk, the damage reduction, and the in combat debuff. So that all just adds up perfectly for a distant counter build, and Special Fighter does deserve a special mention. So with Bonfire, he can basically retaliate back and kill many enemies. So he does get the damage reduction on the first hit, but what if you just kill them on the retaliation? You're not going to be taking the second hit, which he's getting no damage reduction for, so that is really good, and that's why Bonfire Special Fighter is a really good combination on Gustav if you can have that kind of fodder, and definitely is going to be helping you tremendously. You could also use the same combo in Aetherite's offense actually. He's basically going to be like a worse Brave Hector in a sense. I say like worse because he cannot really have the like full penalty negation without occupying a slot B, and he still has the armor weakness, which Brave Hector does not, and Gustav cannot really stop the follow-up attacks of the enemy like Malted can. So, you know, Brave Hector is just in a league of his own, but he can kind of mimic Brave Hector in a sense with a one-shot build by having Special Fighter, Bonfire, and again, as I explained before, you basically not even give the opponent to make the follow-up attack because you kill them with Bonfire. And at higher investment, you could definitely run Slick Fighter and Pulse Smoke. Slick Fighter is going to be helping you tremendously because debuffs are not going to be a problem. And because you're going to be giving up on Special Fighter, you could just run someone like, Brave Lucina, who can give you the breath effect, and you could still retaliate back with bonfires, which is going to be really devastating. Finally, at some insane max investment, he can also be used in Arena, and he can be a pretty good option as well because of his damage reduction. Many of the +10 units are just going to be faster than him. Legendary Chrom, for example, is also going to be fast. Even though Gustav has that armor weakness, he can still take care of Legendary Chrom just fine because of that amazing damage reduction that he gets. Just make sure that if you're facing some kind of slow Chrom, don't buff up Gustav's speed because you actually want Legendary Chrom to make a follow-up attack so that he can get the damage reduction and just kill him with the retaliation. Overall, I would say that the star of this banner is basically the red color, having the color sharing of Valentine Henriette and also Duo Lif. Both of these units are having a pretty rare class type. They don't have too much competition in that, and they can function really well. They are both really min-maxed, and this banner does bring some interesting skills in Fatal Smoke and the save skills. I feel like save skills are going to be much more meta influential than the Fatal Smoke skill that Duo Lif has got. And overall, if you do get Duo Lif, just a one-off copy, then you shouldn't really fodder him for that because he's extremely good. But in general, I think save skills are going to be changing the metagame. And if you don't really use too many armor units, then save skills are really not going to be doing too much for you, or if you just dislike using armor units in general, so it is not going to be giving you much incentive as it is. I just want to remind you that the next month we're going to be getting a Hero Rises event banner, which is probably going to be the best banner that we have ever received because it will have seasonal, mythic, duo units, I'm hoping. And it's also going to be having a spark mechanic. So it is something that you should try to save your orbs for. So many people are going to be looking forward to it. So I just want to have that as a reminder. And if you care about Ether Raids, then we're going to be getting a mythic hero next month as well. So there are some banners worth saving for next month. So I hope you all enjoyed this review. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to pull on this banner, or even just use the fodder of these units, or even trying to build up these units. It would definitely help them. And I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as annoying as the save skills when you're going to be facing against them. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.